Hello and welcome to the Trusted Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Johnson, and today we've got another great guest on the line today. I've got Josh Purcell with Active Life Health and Wellness. He is a chiropractor by trade, and we're going to be talking about all things associated with the body, how to take care of yourself. So Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your background and your practice, and what makes you an expert in your field?
Sure. So I'd be glad to talk about that a little bit. So I'm the manager and runner. I run Active Life Health and Wellness. We have a big wellness clinic here over in Las Vegas, over by Aliante and 215. I've been in practice for almost 20 years now and kind of evolved in practice. Like Blake mentioned, I'm a chiropractor by trade, and that's what my degree is in. But I've also studied a lot of different ways of natural healing. Our focus is how do we help the body heal naturally and avoid drugs and surgeries when possible. And started out with chiropractic. We do a different type of chiropractic where it's called corrective care. So versus somebody just coming in for an adjustment because they have a headache or they have back pain, sciatica, whatever the case may be, we do a thorough evaluation with some x-rays to find out what is the spine doing, what is the posture. We know that our posture dictates our overall health. And so if I have a problem with if I have a symptom, a backache, my first thought with our patients, and as we're doing our investigative exam and consultation, what's causing that? I understand they have a pain, but I want to say, hey, if it's because there's a nerve that's pinched, there's a bone out of alignment, if we can free that alignment, get it back in the proper alignment and open up that spacing, then we know that we can not only get them feeling better, but they'll have the best chance to function optimally. So we're in our third location. There's other doctors that work here. And like I said, I just kind of manage it, oversee, and make sure, quality control and that we're really doing the best job we can for patients. But right now we have 4 different services that we offer. We do, obviously, spinal decompression and chiropractic. My focus right now is with natural neuropathy, on how to treat your neuropathy without drugs and surgeries, and that's been a big part of our practice. We also do a natural knee program for people that have knee problems, and then we offer weight loss, and we have a special cable machine here. It's called the Contour Light that helps people lose inches as well and detox as well.
Awesome. There's a lot to cover there, so I'm going to start with what do you see as the biggest reasons people don't like going to a chiropractor or somebody who works on natural healing as opposed to going to their primary physician or to the urgent care or that kind of stuff?
Good question. I'm sure you've heard it as well as those listening that you hear, once you go to a chiropractor, you have to always go, right? I've heard that my entire career. And here's the thought process is well, no, you don't have to go, right? Just like you don't have to take a drug or have to get a surgery. Well, sometimes you may have to have a surgery. But the biggest reason is, one, they don't understand what we're really trying to do by creating an optimal system, optimal nerve system, so that your body can express itself to the fullest potential. God-given potential is what we call it. And we know for that to happen, your brain and spinal cord have to be able to send the messages down the cord, out the nerves, to every single tissue, cell, and organ of the body. If one of my organs, the nerve from my middle back going to my stomach, if it's not functioning at 100%, then over time, and it may be years, and my stomach's not getting all the information it needs, what's happening to my stomach? Or my liver, gallbladder, heart, any organ you can think of, right? So our whole premise is if we're going to be healthy, then we got to make sure the nerve system's free and clear. So a lot of people, they don't understand. I've heard this is another thing I hear all the time. Well, chiropractic's for car accidents, right? Well, yes, of course. If you're in a car accident or a sports injury or something like that, we can definitely help. But I want to say that chiropractic is for every single person that has a spine, little to old. We adjust little tiny babies all the way up to my oldest patient's 98 years old. My youngest patient was a couple days old when the mother brought her kids in. So I have different stories about everything, but really the biggest thing I think people don't go is they don't understand fully what it is. The flip side to that, there's also a certain percent of people that like to take medications, or their insurance covers it, or they have a copay and they can go to the pharmacy and they can get a little bottle of pills. But the problem with that is it's just masking the symptom. It may help them feel better temporarily, but it's not going to remove a bone, off of a nerve. It's not going to change the function. In fact, there's a lot of side effects that you'd have to be worried about too. So we're very natural. All those different services that we offer is without drugs and surgeries, and we try to help people that want to. A lot of patients don't want to be taking that many medications. So by putting them through a course of treatment, we try to help them with that as well.
Yeah, I think the stigma is something of, when you hear natural healing, you're thinking about the hippie that's, out in the woods eating plants or whatever, but that's not the case. I mean, you can be natural and still be in civilization, be a functioning member of society and all those things. It's just, hey, what is your body naturally doing? Let's try to maximize that and take care of that. So that leads to my next question of, what are the biggest mistakes you see people make in their own health over and over again from your point of view, being a chiropractor?
That's a great question, and there's a lot of different answers, but I would probably say one of the biggest things is the gobs of misinformation about nutrition and health, and what healthy eating is, what exercise. You wouldn't believe, especially if I'm talking to patients about they want to lose weight and they want to detox their body and get higher energy levels up, and besides look better, feel better energy-wise. And when I go through their food list and I start talking to them, what they have for breakfast, lunch, some of the things that they tell me, they're like, yeah, it's really healthy because the box in the store said healthy. So things that are on a shelf, right, that will last there for years and years and years isn't really what our body needs. The stuff we need to be eating and consuming is stuff that can't sit around in our pantry for years, right? If it still looks the same a year later, it's just so full of non-healthy things and preservatives that it's not going to benefit us. So there's a huge misconception on what healthy eating is. And I'm not going to talk about a specific diet. There's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of different ways out here. But I do think as a whole, as a population, we really should be talking more about what we're putting into our body, because our body's going to take whatever we give it. If we give it junk, then we're going to have a short-term, of health. We'll run into all kinds of problems. Look at diabetes right now. It's type 2 diabetes. It's out of control. It's probably one of the biggest diseases, but it's also the one that you do have some say in. You have a better chance of overcoming that with healthy lifestyle changes. So my biggest thing is we're just kind of stuck on the medical model that if you don't feel bad, you're healthy. Well, that's not true. Because if you're based on that model, that means we don't think about health until what? Until we have a condition. And sometimes that condition can be a diagnosis that we don't want to get. Cancer, heart disease. And I see it every day. Now I have, relatively speaking, my 20 years is very, very minimal compared to history of people. But in my 20 years, I have seen the last several way sicker people. And I think it has a lot to do with what we're eating. A lot of our, what we're seeing on Facebook or social media about what health is, there's just a lot of misconceptions when it's very simple. It goes back to the premise, a healthy functioning nerve system is the best defense against any kind of condition. The best defense against cancer is making sure your body is working at its peak, as close to 100% as possible. Is that a guarantee you won't get cancer? Of course not. But whatever we can do to give ourselves optimal levels of functioning directly goes back into our overall level of health.
Okay. What about what's next outside of what we're eating? What are things people can do at home that can help their spine stay in alignment, help them, make sure that their body is optimal outside of the food?
Yes, the next thing I would say is exercise. Now, not everybody likes to go to a gym. I personally love that. That's a big part of my life. I like that, but you don't have to do that. There's plenty of ways to exercise where you don't have to go to a public gym if you don't want to. Or I've had patients say, well, I feel uncomfortable where other people can look. Great. There's videotapes you can buy. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube for free that you can watch different styles of stretching, yoga, and walking, swimming. Those are some basic things that if we do on a regular basis, it doesn't have to go in and hit a bunch of weights. That's not part, I mean, that's one type of exercise, but every body style and every person is a little bit different. But too many people are so sedentary. They're living on phones and computers, and we just sit in front of the desk or at a desk all day in front of a computer where we're not moving. We're not getting a chance to get our blood flow. So if anything at home, if you would spend at least 20 minutes a day. Now, it's hot out in Las Vegas. Guess what? If you go early in the morning or you wait till the sun goes down, walk around your neighborhood for 20 minutes. If you have a swimming pool or access to a swimming pool, swim for 20 minutes. Or if you don't even want to swim, you can walk in water. The resistance of the water is very good. All these little things will help move blood. Remember, circulation is what we need. We have to keep movement. When we quit moving, it affects our brain function. They've done studies and they found that Alzheimer's diseases are based on lack of spinal movement. In the office, we have a therapy called wobble therapy. And it's a special little chair that you sit on, and it takes you through these different motions. As you're moving your bottom end like this, it moves your spine and it pumps cerebral spinal fluid, which is, there's all kinds of studies shows it helps you with your memory. It helps you with focus. You know, sometimes as we get older, you know, grandpa can't remember their little grandson's name. You can't, you know, have a hard time remembering. That's when we quit moving. So movement is life. So if anything, basic exercise would be the answer to that.
All right, I like that a lot. I know that's one of the main ways we initially connected was being in the gym together and working out. So definitely can attest to Josh being in the gym every single day. I know the gym's just opened back up, and you were so excited to be back.
2 days in a row, we've been back, and yeah, it's interesting. You know, they've been closed for since middle of March, and they just barely opened this week. And so I've had to. So this is a great point right here. I've had to adapt. I haven't had a gym to go to. None of us have. At least for the most part, none of us have because of the whole pandemic going on. So we put a few things in our garage, but my workout changed, and it was actually good. We did way more walking and running. We would go to all the parks. You'd get up early, take the dog out. My son was with us, and my wife. We did biking. We did walking. So there's a lot of things. One thing I learned about Las Vegas is there's some beautiful trail systems. We didn't know. There's tons of them. I've lived here for 20 years. I would never have known how great a trail systems we have. All over. Just start Googling a few of them, but there's amazing ones. And so we spend a lot more time outdoors. So yes, exercise can be very different things to very different people, but we do need to move. We've got to get off the couch. We've got to put the phones and electronic stuff down and go move and stimulate our brain through blood flow and oxygen.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of studies out there that have talked about stress as in a positive stress being a good thing for us. So, you know, we have that on the physical side. You know, you stress yourself and push yourself, and that helps. And I think also you want to put yourself in a situation where you're having to maybe mentally have to work a little bit harder, whether that's in work or, you know, you mentally have to get through a workout, whatever that is. Those are all things that help you progress and stay active, stay on top of what you're doing.
And in addition to that, the foods we're eating before and after play a big role in our recovery, right? If I eat a bunch of junk and I try to go do an intense endurance, you know, cardio thing, it's going to go in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be out. I'll spend all the energy and it's gone. So you want to be very careful. Again, we're getting a little advanced. I know this is just somebody's talking, but yeah. Okay, what we eat plays a big role in our overall health. Absolutely.
So here's the big question. When should somebody see you? I know you kind of addressed this a little bit, but when should somebody really start looking at seeing a chiropractor? What are, you know, kind of signs that they really need some help?
Well, I recommend, you know, we're a family practice as well, so we see moms, dads, kids. We put entire families on programs. One thing you can do at home, mom and dad, is you can check your children. And I'll tell you what to do. Just have your children, you know, put like a kind of a tighter shirt on, something that's not really baggy, and some shorts, and have them stand up. And I want you to step back, and I want you to look at their posture. what you're looking at is their shoulders. If they're uneven at all, one side's higher, or if it's rotated in, head going forward, look at it from the side. If their ear hole is in front of their main shoulder, that's called forward head posture. That is a massive problem the last 15 years because of phones and game pads. And, my little boy, I have a 12-year-old. If we would let him, he would live on his game pad thing. There's game, whatever they're called. Right? They would just live on that. So look at your kid's posture. Now, some people say, well, my kids, they don't need chiropractic care. Well, remember what we're checking. It's a lot easier to fix a spine when they're young and they haven't had as much life experience and stress and problems we've had as you get older. So I'm a huge advocate of getting your entire family checked. But go home and check your kids. Look at yourself. Go in a private area in the bathroom, take your clothes off, and just stand there in front of a mirror. It can be kind of a scary thing, right? I get that. Some people are like, I don't want to see that, right? Well, you know what? Do it privately when no one else is there, but look at your shoulders. Is one higher than the other? Does one come in? Are my hips rotated? Do I see that there's an angle like this? I see people like this all the time. They don't realize it, right? We're trained that way. I've had years and years and years of training to look at posture. In fact, when I take my wife out on a date, I don't do it too much anymore, but my first couple of years out of school, wherever we were at, I'd be like, look at that person, look at their shoulder, look at their hip, and she would be like, why don't you quit looking at other people and look at me, right? So You'll see it as you go around, right? But look at your own family. Start with your, each other, husband and wife, and then check your children. And if there's any kind of misalignment or you think there might be, then you make an appointment to come in and have your x-rays taken so we can literally draw it out. We have a system in the office called Posture Ray. It was developed by NASA scientists where we take the photograph, the x-ray, process it through Posture Ray, and it will show us to a millimeter of if it's off or on. Kind of a really cool thing that we can really analyze x-rays, and then based on your x-rays or your children's x-rays, then we can decide what type of therapy you need. There's a lot of different, therapy and rehab pieces of therapy that we can do based on your specific needs. So
Gotcha.
The answer is everybody should get checked. And here's the other thing. Bring your kids in for check. If they don't have any problems, then awesome. Then you wouldn't have to keep going, right? But Find out, the sooner you catch it, the better it's going to be. Unfortunately, we're kind of programmed in a society to base our health on how we feel. So if we don't have pain, then we say we're healthy. Well, what does cancer feel like when it leads up to cancer? How many people get diagnosed with cancer? They didn't feel anything until the end stages.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So our whole premise is let's be proactive, wellness. I get adjusted weekly, not because I have a problem or a pain, because I want to make sure that my nerve system can deal the best it can with my surroundings.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the proactive approach. I think that's great in all aspects of life, but definitely in our health, that's something we should be doing. And I've got my kids. I've got 8-year-old, 4-year-old, and I've taken them in. I think the younger one, I think we took in as young as 1.5 or so, just to make certain, because I was feeling on his back, it felt out, and he was being ornery. Went and got adjusted. That he all of a sudden became his normal, happy self again. So. There's little things that kind of give you that heads up of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about what is your greatest asset, is it your money? Is it your career? Is it your car? To me, it's your health. Mm-hmm. Right? Look at not Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Right? He was in, I think, mid-50s when he had that pancreatic cancer. He was a billionaire. He had more than $1 billion. All of his money couldn't buy his health back. So really, I'm a big advocate of your health is your greatest asset. And you want to do whatever you can to take care of your health, because I don't care how much money you have, you can't buy health, right? You can't buy it back. If you got a sickness or disease, it is what it is. And disease and sickness isn't prejudice. It doesn't care about your background, your education, where you grew up, what school you went to, what color you are. It doesn't care about any of those things, right? Disease is disease. So again, your health should be your greatest asset.
So let's say somebody realizes, hey, I want to come get a checkup in. How do they go about finding a trusted chiropractor that can really help them, that's going to be on the same page, and then any red flags they should avoid when they're doing that search?
Well, what I would do is I would look at some reviews. You know, you can go to their website, go to reviews, look at their website. I'm an advocate of finding a corrective care chiropractor, and there's a couple websites you can go to, and you put your zip code in, and it will tell you different chiropractors in your area, wherever you are throughout the United States. One's called CBP, which is Chiropractic Biophysics. Actually, the webpage is called idealspine.com, and there's a spot you can click for patients, and you can put your information, and it will show you a list of chiropractors that are in that area. But I would look at reviews. I would call. A lot of them, you can tell right away how they answer their phones. When you come in the office, are you greeted? You know, just some common sense things. Or you can even post on Facebook, hey, here's, you know, anybody have a great chiropractor that they like, and they can go find some, you know, some reviews or some referrals as well. But I would look for like idealspine.com, and I would just find out, hey, when you call them, interview them, talk to them for a minute. Hey, what kind of chiropractic do you do? You adjust children, you adjust families. Because there's some chiropractors out there that only do like personal injury work, or they have a very specific field, which is fine. But for family care, I would find a corrective chiropractic office.
What about for credentialing? They have to have obviously their license. Is there a place to check to make sure they're current on their license with the state?
Well, yeah. In order to practice in any state, you have, besides having a degree from a actual med school, chiropractic college, you have to have a degree. And then once we get our degrees, then you have to go take your state board exam. And every state is a little bit different, but you have, in the United States, you have to be licensed in every state with your state in order to provide chiropractic services. So yeah, you can check that. I would imagine, again, you never know though. I would imagine if they're advertising or refer to something like that, they have their stuff. In my office, in the front desk, you can see, you know, the certificates, and we have to take X amount of hours every year to stay current with the licensing agreement. So yeah, they need to be licensed in the state you're at for sure. And you could always look up the board, but most of the time you can find that online.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, how can people get a hold of you if they're here in Las Vegas and they want to get in touch with your practice? Who do they call, or what's your website?
Yeah, so you could just our direct phone number to the office is 702-636-2843, and you can add any of the girls up there. I have quite a few staff up here, and any of them will be happy. You can just say, hey, I heard it on Blake's podcast, and that they can get you a schedule to come on in for a consultation, and we can see how we can help you with whatever service you need. Our webpage is called Active Life Health. You can go there as well, or chiropractorvegas.com. Either one of those would pull you to our webpage. And on our webpage, you'll see many different services. You'll see different testimonials of actual patients. You can kind of see some pictures of our office. So that'd be a good start as well. And then there's the phone numbers if you're looking for chiropractic, or if you're looking for neuropathy, knee program, or weight loss and body contouring as well. Those are all different little sections that you can pull up on the webpage. But it's chiropractorvegas.com, and it will take you to all the different pages up there.
Perfect. And I'll make sure I put that in the show notes so it's linked into the podcast so our listeners can find that. A lot of great information today. Any other thing that we missed that's absolutely vital that we should have covered today as far as chiropractic care?
I think we did a good job of covering it. Those are great questions, and I think it flowed. I hope this was informative for you. If there's any other specific questions that we don't cover, and I don't know if they can contact you or whatever, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you. I think the biggest thing is we're on a mission, really, to try to create as many healthy people as possible. We know there's a ton of stress out there, especially now, right? There's more stress in the world now than maybe has ever existed. I don't know. at least for us living on Earth right now, right? So we're dealing with stress, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's unknown. The best form of health is for your body to function as close to the way that God created it to function. And all I know for that is all starts. There's other avenues of health that we didn't get into today. I get that. But it all starts with your spinal cord and your immune system. So the closer you are to flowing the way that it's supposed to flow, where all your tissue cells and organs receive the information, send it back to brain controls that. Your body's the smartest doctor out there. I tell patients all the time when they come to us and say, you know what, thank you, doc. I'm so grateful you did this. I said, don't thank me, thank God. We're just messengers. We're just moving bones to get it back. We're using science and we're putting things back where they need to be. And your body is the smartest doctor in the room. It knows more than any doctor on this planet. It doesn't need external things. It just needs to be able to function the way that it's supposed to. And when we can create that in an individual, and you can help that to your family, I'm a big advocate of get your kids checked. Sometimes if I have parents here, I say, listen, you I saw you have a couple of children or whatever up in the waiting room. Let's get them checked. And the biggest thing I learned is people said, oh, I didn't know you could adjust children. I didn't know. I get it because we're not trained that way. I understand. I'm not blaming them. It's just the way we're raised. When I was a kid, I'll be honest, I'll share real quick. I was 20 years old, and what really got me into chiropractic was I was working construction here in town. I worked for a company called MS Concrete, and I got hurt on the job. Pounded a stake in, and I heard a little pop, and my arm went numb, and I couldn't move my neck. Well, they sent me to a medical doctor who really said, I don't know what to do for you. Here's a bunch of pills, gave me some drugs, and said, go to physical therapy. I went to physical therapy, and after the third time, I came home just in more pain than I was ever before, and I didn't really know what they were doing. They were doing some stretching and different things, but it wasn't working. A gentleman from my church, he was friends with our family from church. He called my house one night and asked to talk to me, and he said, have you been to a chiropractor? I'm going to be honest. I had never even heard of one. I grew up in a medical hospital. I didn't even know what a chiropractor was. And this is the truth, man. This is 20 years ago. And I said, no. And I didn't want to sound stupid. So I'm like, oh, no, man. And he's like, well, he referred me to a guy that he knows, a chiropractor. He said, you should call him and go see him. I got off the phone and I asked my mother, I said, Mom, what's a chiropractor? And her answer was, not sure. I think they work with car accidents. So when people come in with this idea, I get it. I have the same thing, right? I grew up in a pharmacy. My grandfather was a pharmacist. So my mom was dumping stuff on spoons, take this pill. She'd open the cupboard above the fridge, and all we had was just every little pill and potion you could think of. Well, as time went on and I learned this stuff, we don't take any drugs in our family. Very, very rare. Very little. We really believe in our body. So long story short, that's what got me better. That's what changed my mindset, to get better. And then my sister was suffering with migraine headaches. She was a senior in high school, and I remember she didn't go out with her friends. She was always in her room. She hardly ever came down for dinner, and she just never felt good. And my mother was always taking her to some doctor, and she'd come home with new pills. And when I met this chiropractor, I told him about it. He said, bring her in. So I told my mom, and she's like, well, nothing else is working. Long story short, she started getting, he did his assessment, started adjusting her, and guess what? They didn't go away 100%, but they improved dramatically. She didn't suffer with migraines on a daily basis. And that was what clicked for me. That's awesome, and that's really where I decided I was going to go to medical school. That's my original thought, but I switched over to chiropractic school, and I'm really happy that I did. It's been a really cool ride. We've been able to see thousands of cases of people improve. At this point in my practice right now, I've been doing this for a long time, the part that brings me the most happiness is hearing the successes. When patients tell us, Doc, here's where I was after a few months, few weeks, here's where I am now. I can do this now. I can do this now. I'm so much happier. I feel better. My energy levels are up. That's what makes me happy. And that's the thing is if you're suffering, you don't have to suffer. Just get checked. If they can't help you, they can't help you, but you'll never know if you don't go to get checked. And so I recommend for everybody, that's suffering or not even suffering, just go get it. Just call for an appointment and get checked and see what can be done. Because a lot of times there's things that can be done that can dramatically improve your life.
Okay. Well, I love your passion. I think it's very clear for those who have watched the video that you get excited about this stuff. You have lots of energy. So thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing your little bits of wisdom with us. And to our listeners, please like, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Reach out if you have different topics you want us to cover, and we'll see if we can't get them on the show as well. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. And thank you again, Josh, for being with us today.
Hey, thank you. It's awesome.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys next time.